right now on ABC Action News.
I just cried because I had nowhere to go, like literally nowhere to go.
They're not really telling the truth about nothing.
Yeah, you feel like you've just been let down by the system? As so many across our area struggle with the growing price of paradise, we're highlighting their stories and solutions. How a shift towards luxury living is bringing people in, but also pushing them out. And why for some, protecting paradise is a top priority. Welcome into our ABC Action News Price of Paradise special. Throughout the year, we've been listening to you, the voices of our community, as we all cope with the rising costs of living on Florida's Gulf Coast. Well, over the next hour, we'll have stories of struggle, of perseverance, and of course, hope. And on that, we begin now by meeting a mother who has spent years waiting for the day to finally have her place for her family to call their own, a home. When I met her earlier this year, she felt like she had no options left, but I found a solution that could help her and others.
How I was done was wrong, and I had my money up front to pay them. They're not really telling the truth about nothing.
Yeah, you feel like you've just been let down by the system?
Yeah, I know I have.
For Mary Weish, life is hard raising a newborn, 3-year-old, and a teenager without a home. You got your hands full.
Yeah, I do.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
She tells me the only reason she isn't on the streets is because she couch surfs. If you were able to get stable housing, would that help you get a leg up and pull you out of this tailspin?
Of course, I can move on to getting more, stability, getting my mind right on just working and focusing on trying to provide more for my kids.
So just to put it in perspective, October of 2021, we opened up our housing choice voucher wait list. So a few years ago, we received over 18,000 applications for assistance.
Margaret Jones is a director of assisted housing for the Tampa Housing Authority. She tells me the current list is close to 13,000. She confirmed Weish has been on their list since 2021. If this mom were to end up on the street with her 3 kids, what options does she have and what benefit is that to the community?
Well, of course it's not a benefit, but she is one of many individuals that are really suffering right now. I probably get an email every other day from individuals inquiring, do you have emergency housing? Do you have rapid rehousing? What can I do for my family?
How do we get to the point where a mom isn't on a list since 2021?
I don't know if we'll ever get someone completely off the list.
Kayon Henderson is the Director of Housing and Community Development with the City of Tampa. Is there help out there? Is there hope for these thousands of people? It might take a while, but at some point, hopefully they can get to where they need to be?
I think if I could give a message, certainly there is hope and there's help. It does not always come as quickly. I think, a lot of times that we get these phone calls, people call the day off and says, I need to go somewhere today. And the idea that emergency housing is readily available today as it was years ago, it's just unfortunately not the same.
We are doing all that we can to address this housing crisis.
For years, we've covered this issue. Groundbreaking after groundbreaking, we've seen lots of renderings for new projects. And construction abound, but it's still not enough. Is there a monetary number for funding that you get from HUD that would clear your entire wait list that you would need right now?
To clear the wait list, that would be astronomical to do that. We received about $146 million from HUD to provide funding for the 12,000 unit portfolio that we have. It will not be enough, of course.
Once we alerted Tampa Housing Authority to Weich's story, they looked into her case, then updated her file to new preferences, showing that she is on the brink of homelessness and has a new baby. That dropped her from 626 on the list to 58.
She did not have a preference. So when we changed that and kind of added the preference for her, that will move her up on the wait list. Okay. So it's important that families that are on there now check in constantly.
This one right there, you like that one, SpongeBob? What's your hope when people see your story?
I really pray that I get into a place because I'm really needing one for my kids to at least have their own room.
Along with housing, we've also seen childcare costs rise dramatically in recent years. This as families are also forced onto waiting lists even well before their babies are even born. We heard countless of you out there about this. So ABC Action News anchor Heather Lee took a closer look at this growing issue and found the options are pretty limited for parents.
Tiny waves and hugs all around in the 2-year-old room at Baby Fox Academy of Florida. The day gets started with circle and a few songs.
Hello, how are you? How are you this morning?
On to the next few rooms. The older kids knead and shape slime, search for seashells and rice, and play with kinetic sand. All things working their fine motor skills. Stacy Lowell told me about her son's progress.
It's been great. He loves coming to school. He talks about it. He's now 2.5. He's working on potty training, and they're helping, which is nice too, to have that support.
The minute I walked in here, I knew this was the place for my child to be.
Kelly Nazer's son started coming to Baby Fox as an infant.
It was one of the few places I could find locally that had that option, and we were on a wait list, which I was completely fine with because I knew the quality of care I was getting.
Kelly's got a point. There's not a lot of infant care in Sarasota County. As of last month, the Department of Children and Families reports 143 licensed child care centers in the county, including ones in homes. Of those, the Early Learning Coalition of Sarasota works with 113, and it only refers infants to 51 of those centers. All of this is happening in a county that's grown by nearly 30,000 people since 2020, according to its government website. Here's a look at DCF's count of licensed child care centers in other counties. 1,232 in Hillsborough, 622 in Pinellas, and just 222 in Pasco. It's also not clear how many of the facilities licensed for infant-toddler care are actively running that program right now based on DCF's data.
We're hearing from parents just this week who were saying, I basically had to get on a wait list for my infant when I was pregnant.
Speaking with Michaela Buchanan, the Early Learning and Literacy Commerce Director for the Florida Chamber of Commerce, I asked her what she thought the catalyst to the high cost of childcare was.
I think it really stems to the access issue.
Do you think we have a childcare crisis in our state?
Absolutely. And it's not just our state. I think it's across the entire United States. And it's just going to keep getting worse because more and more providers are throwing in the towel for a variety of reasons. And one of it just being that the costs are so high and the profit margin is decreasing a lot.
I mean, now that we have more parents that are both working, it's a need, and it's hard to get into these facilities sometimes. So these childcare facilities really do need help in making sure that they're providing the best care.
Tonight on ABC Action News, we go in depth with the owners of Baby Fox Academy, Lori and Matthew McCracken, on the cost of items inside infant-toddler rooms and what it takes to not only open but maintain them.
Thank you, Heather. Let's shift focus now to a big win for wildlife conservation. It's one of the things that truly makes our area in Paradise so good to live in. Earlier this year, a critical crossing between Lakeland and Orlando has officially opened after years of work. It's now providing a safe path to survival for one of Florida's most beloved animals. Florida is a wild place, from the mangroves to the natural springs and everything in between. Some of our animals can only be found here, but sadly, our roads crisscross their wildlife corridors, oftentimes with deadly results.
I was born in 1959, and the first segment of I-4 opened in 1959. And I will tell you, in 1959, nobody was thinking much about how a critter was going to get across the road.
Cut in half by I-4 for 50 years, a new crossing is giving wildlife a chance. After this ribbon cutting for the underpass along I-4, we saw just how dangerous the road can be for animals and people. This car crashing into the fencing just a couple 100 feet away.
If you stand up there and you say, go across that without getting hit by a car, you would be terrified.
Max Freund is with the nonprofit F-Stop Foundation, monitoring trail cameras around this spot for years. Now, 6 cameras line the path, ready to trigger to capture the first images of an elusive panther or a burly bear traveling north.
And it's just an honor to have cameras there, and if we can capture the first Florida black bear crossing I-4, it would be phenomenal.
That I-4 crossing is huge.
Tiffany Burns is the associate curator at Zoo Tampa.
It's a whole lot of nothing.
In February, photojournalist Reed Mueller and I went deep into Polk County with them, checking F-Stop Foundation trail cameras, a new partnership to track wildlife. Well, the last clip could be a panther.
Oh, don't say that. I'll keep going.
No panthers then, but months later, a lone male crosses into frame.
An adult male And he did have a little bit what seemed to be a front paw injury. He was limping a little bit, but body condition, he looked very good, very thick, healthy.
Is it a testament to protecting wildlife that we're seeing these panthers on cameras this far north?
Yeah, it's a great thing to see the panthers come up north, but we also need those females to follow.
It's not every day you get to stand underneath a Florida panther. This is Mickey, and Mickey was relocated here to Zoo Tampa because he was considered a nuisance going into a number of different neighborhoods. Mickey, now an ambassador. Cars no longer a threat to him. Number one killer of panthers are vehicle strikes.
It is, and unfortunately we have surpassed our deaths this year. From the entire year last year.
It's in our backyard, and sometimes we find that really wild Florida is hiding in plain sight. And of course, the beauty and the human connection to these places.
Mallory Dimmitt is the CEO of the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation. A new exhibit chronicles life across 10 million acres of protected land that will never have a house, grocery store, or mall.
We'd love for this to travel the state, and especially to get in front of people who want to learn more about the wildlife corridor and to come to Tallahassee, where I think our decision makers, our elected officials can see the progress that's happened since they took action to protect the corridor through the act.
More crossings are planned. They cost millions of dollars, but advocates say they are worth every single penny to capture images like this as opposed to this. All right, still to come here on this ABC Action News Price of Paradise special, we've got a really cool story giving new meaning to the quote, living with the Lord. Be sure to stick around for that and much more as our ABC Action News Price of Paradise special continues after the break. Welcome back. While we haven't brought it up yet, it is an undeniable fact that this hurricane season has been historic and dramatically impacted the price of living in paradise. Climate scientists are now jumping into action, however, starting to study the impacts Helene and Milton had on our barrier islands to determine what needs to change.
In Florida, it's just going to become more and more difficult to maintain infrastructure and utilities on our barrier islands. It just is. Barrier islands are dynamic. It's not just can we build Fort Knox that would go to sea and be fine. You don't spend money in places where you're throwing it into the Gulf. Spend the money in the places that we can protect over the longer term. And that's how you preserve the coastal economy.
The images we've captured during all of these storms paints an ominous portrait of our present, past, and future.
We can't hold 3,000 plus miles of ocean shoreline in the U.S. and tens of thousands of estuarine shoreline in place forever.
Robert Young is a director of the program for the study of developed shorelines at Western Carolina University. We first met him in May of 2023 at the Tampa Bay Regional Resiliency Leadership Summit in Clearwater. That's where he urged leaders to prepare for the extreme events from climate change.
And when you don't have a plan in place, then the easiest thing to do and the fastest thing to do is just to put stuff back where it was.
How do we build, or can we build, to be resilient to mitigate some of these disasters moving forward?
Understanding where we can build and rebuild in the future is a very tricky question. Sadly, most places don't have a good plan in place for how they're going to rebuild smarter.
Florida is no different. We know every hurricane season a monster storm could visit our shores. Their names synonymous with death and disaster: Irma, Michael, Ian, Nicole, Idalia. This year alone, Debbie, followed by Helene and Milton, back-to-back 100-year storms. That calm after the storm comes with endless cleanup, and it's not only from storm surge.
It's from these rain bombs and hurricanes that are holding more water than they used to, and we're not prepared to deal with all that extra water.
Young tells me climate change is causing more freshwater flooding. A recent damage estimate for Helene is up to $250 billion. Record rains wiping parts of North Carolina off the map. Since 1980, the U.S. has sustained 400 weather and climate disasters where costs exceeded $1 billion, totaling more than $2.7 trillion.
We really need to have a much more serious conversation about how we can lessen that risk footprint. And it doesn't mean leave the barrier islands, but it does mean taking a serious look at those areas that are experiencing repeat damage, repeat impacts, costing taxpayers, both at the local, state, and federal level, a lot of money to rebuild repeatedly. If you made me the king of flooding, the first thing I would say is please, 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 let's not put any new infrastructure in harm's way. Let's not put new high rises on the oceanfront in places where we're going to have to protect them for forever. Unfortunately, we're not very good at that.
All right, still ahead here on ABC Action News' Price of Paradise special home buying tips. We've got a panel of experts with all the info you need to know if you're in the market. Plus, from hopeless to a new home, the inspirational story of a local woman's long journey coming up ahead. Welcome back. If you are in the market for a home, it's actually not a bad time to buy. Things have cooled down a bit, but as you may know, it's not always money that keeps people out of the market. Recently, I sat down with a panel of experts to help you navigate this market and dispel some major myths. Is there any one person that can do all three of your jobs?
No, we really have to stay in our lane. I think it's very important to know what our skills are and how we can best help people.
When buying a home, a loan officer, realtor, and insurance agent become your best friends to get to the closing table.
We know the answers to the questions they're not asking.
We interviewed all three at our studio: Melanie Thompson with United Direct Lending, Laura Bohannon-Myers at MVP Realty, and Bridget Newman, Florida Strategic Insurance. Full disclosure, all three recently helped me buy a new home, holding my hand through the entire process. What's your advice for people that might be just scared because things have been so crazy?
I say you jump in. There are so many first-time home buyer programs with everything kind of shifting where prices are going down just a little bit. It is not a better time. I feel like everything's going to skyrocket eventually. Right now, this is the time. This is what you've been waiting for.
A lot of people might have this mindset of, oh, I don't want to overpay an interest rate. But when rates were 3%, nobody minded overpaying $100,000 over list to buy a home. So it's a mindset shift.
There are a couple of carriers, this is good news, we'll see what happens, but there are a couple of carriers that are asking for rate decreases this year. So hopefully we'll start to see more of a trend in that direction, and that'll make buying homes here in Florida a little more appealing.
So we shifted now into a buyer's market?
I guess you could say that a little bit more.
I think it's a fair market for both.
For both,
right
really.
now.
Right. This is a sweet spot.
Flood insurance can knock some buyers out of their price range, but it is possible for some of those national flood insurance policies to be transferred to the new buyer, a process called policy assumption.
I had one last week, it was like $8,000, and the seller had their policy and I got it for like $1,600 for the buyer. Yeah.
The same is true for some mortgages. There are certain qualifications, but a buyer can take over an existing mortgage that's locked in with those lower rates. It looks like interest rates are here to stay for a while.
They are, but there is some hope, and there are some things in your control with mortgage rates, and it is working on your credit. Sellers are gracious now and are giving some closing cost credits. So there's opportunity so much more now.
It's important to look at the sellers and look at the history of the home. I've had a home yesterday that came down about $35,000 already in the last 30 days.
Do people have to put 20% down now these days?
You do not. You do not. And a lot of people assume you need to as well to avoid mortgage insurance. And that's also something that's not the case anymore. You can actually buy out your mortgage insurance if you don't want that payment every month, and you can do that with less than 20%.
This is still a very doable market for a lot of people, and maybe you need to get a house that's a little bit smaller than you had planned on, but it's going to set you up for a better house later.
All right, still ahead here on ABC Action News, Price of Paradise special. We follow through on a local woman's long journey out of homelessness. Her inspirational story ahead. Also, if you've been in Tampa recently, you've likely seen the constantly expanding skyline. Well, after the break, we're going to give you a look inside those high rises to get a taste of the growing demand for luxury. Stick around. Welcome back. Next here on this Price of Paradise special, we've got the inspirational story of a local mother's long journey to homeownership. We first met her back in 2021, Tangela Butler, who's a bus driver, who said she felt hopeless while bouncing from apartment to apartment. That is until she got in contact with Habitat for Humanity, and now 3 years later, she has a place to call her own. Did you think so many people cared?
That's the thing. I had no clue what this program was all about. But to see so many people that give their time and money and dedicate it and donate it to total strangers, it's awesome. The feeling is amazing.
2 years ago, Christmas Eve, Butler lost all hope.
I just cried because I had nowhere to go, like literally nowhere to go.
A recent study by the research arm of the Florida legislature reviewed more than 1,000 programs across the country. 13 showed promise to start here in Florida. Of those, 3 had a high likelihood for success here, one in New York, Connecticut, and Illinois.
This is really a way to bring the healthcare system into affordable housing.
Sarah Torres and Amy Bashidi are with the Illinois Housing Development Authority, the agency now receiving applications from developers to build affordable units near medical facilities.
Research has shown that it's hard to maintain your health if you don't have stable housing, where a developer and healthcare partner can come in and do housing for not just permanent supportive housing residents, but also for sort of workforce housing.
Are you guys excited that another state like ours has said, hey, look, this is a great program, we need to do it here?
I think we all should be coming up with our own innovative ways to meet these needs and meet them as quickly as possible.
Are those programs that we can implement here a win?
They can be. I had a boss one time that used to use the acronym CASE, copy and steal everything.
Mike Sutton, president and CEO of Habitat for Humanity Pinellas and West Pasco counties, tells me they already borrow ideas from habitat communities across the U.S.
We're getting into a lot of multifamily. We have 4 different townhome communities that are under construction. In addition to that, we're looking at things like duplexes and triplexes. In a few short weeks, she'll be getting those keys, we'll be signing that mortgage document, and she'll be moving in this home.
Through the kindness of strangers and the steady symphony of tools, this mom became an inspiration for her boys.
And it was like, Mom, I saw you work hard these past 2 years and you never gave up. And that meant so much to me because I was tired. I was tired working. And like Mike said, the classes and that you got to come out and put in the 350 sweat hours. I was tired, but I did it. And I'm so proud of myself.
One of the interesting shifts in Tampa's landscapes over the years has been a growing wealth divide. We just saw one example of how so many are striving for so little, while not far away, a couple of miles off the road, others are living the high life, literally in Tampa's constantly expanding skyline. Take a look at the luxury I found. We are in the heart of downtown Tampa. UT is right behind me, Curtis Hickson Park, and this amazing pool. This apartment complex is offering the most luxurious lifestyle someone could ask for, and I'm told by a resident that that's the reason she moved here.
360 views all around. As of right now, we're the tallest building in Tampa.
It is a $1 million view at Air Apartments, 31 stories, towering over Tampa's Riverwalk, steps from the Straz Center.
And it's really more about that lifestyle. We're offering culture, lifestyle, and fitness. So coming here, you're not just getting an apartment, you're really transitioning into a full lifestyle. After you guys.
The pool, a showstopper. Jessica Santa is the property manager. During our tour, she highlighted the amenities all included in the price, ranging from under $3,000 to over $6,000.
This is what everyone's looking for. You know, you have the city view, the water view, the hot tub.
Air has private workspaces, rooms for content creators, podcasters, steam rooms, gym with a view, and on and on. Competition across Tampa to win a resident like Kenya Ramirez is fierce.
I think our amenities are much better. We have a bigger pool, we have saunas. Surprisingly, the other high-rises did not have saunas.
Ramirez wanted luxury.
A few years ago, I thought I would leave. I thought I would move out and go to Miami. But now that I see all the new changes, I actually like it, and I think I am going to stay here.
I've always talked about our goal of 10,000 affordable units by 2027. Are we going to reach that? We probably won't.
We caught up with Tampa Mayor Jane Castor at a news conference announcing new affordable housing, asking the mayor what role luxury plays as thousands are still on housing wait lists. Does it raise the city up or does it push people out?
No, it raises the city up. We don't ever want to push anyone out. You know, Our diversity is really what defines Tampa as the greatest city in the nation. And so we want to ensure that we have housing available at every single level.
I'm clearly wearing the wrong suit for this story. I should be taking a dip in the pool here at the Ritz-Carlton Residences in Tampa on Bayshore Boulevard, but this is the pinnacle of luxury. Here poolside, you can just pick up this service button, hit it, and order anything on the menu. Located on the most beautiful street in Tampa, Bayshore Boulevard, Tower 1 sold out in less than a year. Tower 2 isn't even done yet and selling out fast, pricing between $1.5 and $6.6 million. On our tour, we saw every amenity someone could ask for. It is like living at a hotel. Do they make the city less affordable, or do they lift it up with taxes, etc.?
I think it lists tax base 100%, but again, we're targeting that niche market of that buyer for that specific product.
Nick Perez is the president of the condominium division at Related Group, the developer behind the Ritz-Carlton Residences Tampa. We're not Miami, but if someone says I stayed here because I found the luxury that I thought would be in Miami and it was in Tampa, what does that say?
I think that says a lot.
Construction downtown is booming, more luxury buildings going up now and into the future.
Now we jump to the luxury market, and I think Tampa is the center of luxury development, and it will be. I think it's ready for it. Strong office markets, very strong employment basis, lower cost of living, great quality of life. You put all those together and we're going to be there for a long.
Still to come here on ABC Action News, Price of Paradise special, giving an old church new life. We'll tour a formerly sacred spot in Tarpon Springs that's now being used as a mansion, a home. Also, from garden to table, more on the push to provide healthy food options in food deserts across our area. Welcome back. As we saw before the break, the demand for high-end living continues to be a major factor in folks flocking to our area. While most of this construction is new, many places across our area are being restored or replaced. Next up, we're taking you on a tour of a formerly sacred place in Tarpon Springs, now given a second life. A lot of people have a deep connection to what was a church that's now been converted into a mansion, now listed for sale for millions of dollars. We talked to some folks who actually attended services here and launched a brand new congregation in the 80s. On the outside, the years between past and present are blurred. The former Baptist church looks the same. But step inside.
It is luxury from head to toe, yet extremely comfortable. I mean, it feels homey. I am the listing agent for 160 Reed Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida. $5.995 million is what it's listed at.
Do you think it'll go for that?
I think it'll go close to it. You are the first one to be in here, right?
And the only one that can't afford it.
This amazing. So it is a lap pool. It's heated.
It's a miracle. I had my Zoom up waiting for you. Tracking down former parishioners was not easy.
We started a church in Tarpon Springs called the Harbor Baptist Temple.
Paul Tipton, now a missionary in Nicaragua with very sketchy Wi-Fi, was the pastor here 40 plus years ago.
It was a bad location for a church only because of the lack of parking and things that we had. As far as the building itself goes, it was a blessing.
Do you have any concerns about it being sold for $6 million potentially?
I mean, it served its purpose for us. And if it can continue to serve some sort of purpose, that's fine with me. That excites me.
Paul Tipton, who is my best friend.
Tipton led us to Jerry Cook, a longtime Tarpon Springs resident who helped him start the new church. Property holds over 7,000 square feet of air-conditioned, modernized living areas.
If I can stop you right there, we didn't have air conditioning.
Walk me through, when I'm going up those stairs and I go through the front door, what is there?
When we got inside, we'd run across a rat or two here and there. I mean, it was vacant for a long time. The only problem with the stairs is older people were scared going up and down them. We said, okay, we're going to put you in a chair and we're going to carry you up. And it scared the life out of some of the older people. But they wanted to be in that church.
Never dropped anyone?
No, never dropped anyone.
What does the building still mean to you?
Well, it's, I'll tell you what it's like. It means that it's a shame it's become a house and not a church.
Did you see the pictures on the inside?
I've only seen it through newspaper. Boy, does that bring back memories.
We showed him the real estate video of the inside. He was shocked.
Can you believe that? My wife's got to see this. She would never believe that.
There's their pool.
Oh, my. Wow.
So I probably shouldn't have that soundbite where you say it's a shame in there now after seeing this.
No.
Changed your mind.
No, change that. I'll be honest with you, it was could have been condemned. It really could have. It was bad.
Yeah, right.
What they did there is it'll stand for a long time, and people will remember that it was the First Baptist Church.
All right, still ahead, fighting food deserts. More on the groups working hard to make sure everyone in our area has access to healthy foods after the break. Welcome back. While the economy has slowly been bouncing back this year, the cost of food remains extremely high. With this, healthier options become out of reach for far too many families and for people who live in so-called food deserts. It makes things even more challenging. How one nonprofit group is cooking up solutions to help communities eat a lot healthier.
So I have 2 mangoes chopped up here already that we're going to add.
Fruits.
We have a couple green onions,
Veggies.
lime juice.
And a splash of citrus. Fresh, simple, and delicious ingredients.
Isn't it good? Now you know.
This is the second of 6 classes here in rural Dade City for Feeding Tampa Bay's Food Nutrition Education Program, and it's already having a big impact.
I was eating candy and just too many nuts. I got up yesterday and I ate fruit for breakfast, and I tried to tell myself to be obedient, eat the fruit, and then I ate a good salad for lunch, and then for dinner I just ate like one of those big yogurts.
Advent Health brought fresh produce to this retirement community, and Wilbur, the therapy dog.
It's ready for any donations, meat donations.
How long has it been empty?
I would say a good 6 months.
The fridges and pantry are bare, fresh food hard to come by.
We do get a lot of sugary products, and of course it's completely teaching them the opposite.
Another hurdle Feeding Tampa Bay plans to work on. Bev Dissett is the Elderly Services Program Coordinator for the Pasco County Housing Authority, forced to pinch every penny.
But the amount of money that we get, we have to stretch it thin throughout the year.
About $2,000, you said?
$2,000.
And then when you add the food desert areas to it, it makes it just an extra barrier.
The newly launched classes offered by Feeding Tampa Bay are Samantha Wally's Baby. This month, they'll hold about 100 across 10 Bay Area counties.
I'm really passionate about not only providing nutrition education, but doing it in a light that doesn't shame people for their food choices and really teaches them information on what they have access to.
And it's the first time I've tried mango, and it's awesome.
First time you tried mango?
Yeah.
What do you
And
think?
I'm 64.
Well, you got a new fruit in your life.
New fruit in my life.
Food is medicine, and so is laughter. Things we all could use a lot. East Tampa is considered a food desert, a low-income area lacking access to fresh produce and veggies like you see here. But one grassroots movement is trying to change that, one seed, one plant at a time.
We do it because we need to survive, because you're talking about diabetes, you're talking about heart diseases in this community.
Members of the Healthy 22nd Street Community Garden are having a moment.
What it symbolizes is that you're learning how to become a gardener.
This planter won't feed the block, but it's a start. In 2022, 10 people in the coalition planted front yard gardens. Today, dozens are playing in the dirt.
Friends and family have been consistent ripple effects from this.
Kitty Wallace is one of the founders of the Coalition of Community Gardens, and her passion for fruits and vegetables, as you see, is contagious.
I mean, this is like amazing. If you have never eaten peas straight from the garden, so 1, 2, 3.
Good crunch, good sweet. Mm. Every plant leads to a new culinary adventure.
And then the dinosaur kale. I've never seen this in the grocery store either. Never heard of and never tasted. We're going to do it today.
I want it to be fun.
Regina Polite has way more than one plant.
One of the things we learn as gardeners, you get to taste this stuff before it hits the table. Hey, this is a winner.
Her backyard is a buffet of sorts.
Smell that.
Chive?
But it's a garlic
chive.
There you go. but I'll have this stuff growing forever.
And look at this huge thing of curly parsley that Regina's just growing randomly in her backyard. I mean, at a grocery store, this will cost you $4 or $5.
Or more.
Especially
And
this
you won't
size.
get as much.
Has it helped you even with prices and saving money at the grocery store?
Absolutely. As we continue to grow, we share food with each other, and that's what I hope, this will grow into us really sharing as a community. We don't have to go to the grocery store as much for our fruits and vegetables because we're growing our own.
Joy Watkins documented her gardening journey, nervous about attempting to grow a plant from a seed, but it turned out to be life-changing.
And I feel empowered about my own health.
Watkins didn't want to become a statistic.
Since December 22, when I started doing all this, I've lost 32 pounds. I was on 2 blood pressure pills. I'm only on 1.
We're going to be a force to reckon with. And hopefully we get some grant money and all the good stuff that come with it because we're going to need help.
In East Tampa with photojournalist Reed Moeller. Michael Paluska, ABC Action News. Earlier in the show, we showed you that former church in Tarpon Springs that's now becoming a mansion. Well, as you may know, house flipping like that is popular for local investors to buy and sell homes. But a creepy alternative is sneaking into the market, so-called zombie houses.
There were just like paths certain ways. It was, in some areas, it was filled up to your neck.
Look at this. I mean, this is just wild. When we got to the house, I mean, it was just piled to the ceiling with garbage and junk and all kinds of things.
Investors Brian Rossiger and Alex Jandik don't mind getting dirty if it'll save them cash. With 110 plus flips under his belt, Jandik wants to share tips with the community on how to beat out corporate buyers.
People have to learn how to buy right. They have to know their local neighborhoods. Neighborhoods in St. Pete and Tampa are like street by street by street. We know the neighborhoods way better than some national home buyer who's sitting behind a desk in a hedge fund in some New York high-rise. They just don't have a chance.
But his team goes after a very specific type of disgusting home.
Zombies actually what we call them. Yeah, we call them zombie houses. When they're abandoned, it's a zombie house.
Many of the so-called zombie houses are infested with bugs, roaches, thousands of termites happily gnawing away, along with the occasional rat.
I'm sorry, there's a rat. He jumped out on me. Oh.
And even more grisly discoveries.
The owner passed away in the house, did not have any close friends, any close family, anything like that.
On this flip, Jandik learned, and we confirmed with the St. Petersburg Police Department, that the owner was found dead inside. Only his skeleton remained. The case is still active and listed as suspicious only because with just the bones, it is hard to determine a cause of death.
Based on the condition he was in, they suspect that he had been dead for several years.
Rossiger spending days tracking down his next of kin, now working to bring closure to a neighborhood who thought the man inside was just a recluse.
All the neighbors, they've watched this property sit in decay for several years, and they've wanted something nice in their neighborhood instead of having to look at this, so it'll be good to see the neighborhood getting revitalized.
All right, still to come here on ABC Action News, Price of Paradise special, Protecting Cortez. After the break, we'll show you how folks came together to deny development on their historic fishing village. Welcome back. Before we go, we want to bring you a story of a historic fishing village in Manatee County that banded together and they beat a push to have their coastline replaced by condos and high-rises. Here's more from what I learned on my journey to Cortez, one of the oldest fishing communities in Florida. Coast.
The Fish Preserve truly is one of the last undeveloped stretches of land on Sarasota Bay.
Thick, lush mangroves dominate this vast piece of untouched land. It is a haven for wildlife, a nursery for fish, and a reminder of the past. This is a little piece of history that looks like it did in the 1800s.
Yeah, it is like stepping back into old Florida. And that's another reason this restoration is so important and impressive, is it kind of is restoring the land to the way that it was, you know, before all of the people were here.
Dr. Angela Collins is a board member for FISH, the nonprofit created decades ago specifically to save this preserve. Without the community effort, we could be standing in the middle of condos.
Absolutely.
Or a hotel.
Yeah. That's why the work of the Florida Institute for Saltwater Heritage, the organization that purchased this land, It's such an amazing success story.
It's so quiet out here. You can hear the trees creaking in the wind, and they're still trying to figure out exactly where to put new trails. This is one area that they hadn't seen before. It snakes all the way back down and around.
Show me where your trail is. Wow, I'm not sure you ever brought me back here. Yeah. See, he's never showed this to me before. This is his secret.
Once the trails are carved out, the fish preserve will be open to the public, but there is a lot of work ahead to remove all of the invasive plants.
So this place was mistreated for decades.
So you want to take these Australian pines out too?
Well, you can see they've been cut and killed. It's pine needles, and as you can see, nothing grows. No other trees or plants will grow in this. It even has a toxin which prevents other plants from growing there.
What does this mean to you?
This means everything.
He tells me the final phase to restore the ecosystem is complete. Now nature just has to take over.
We've already got black mangroves.
For all the natural beauty we've showed you in this report, we picked our shots carefully. Because this is what surrounds the preserve. Roads, a mobile home park, and development as far as the eye can see. A clear line of demarcation where the mangroves run out.
We've got just development. It's a wonderful place to live. People want to be here, but a lot of it's hardened shoreline now. A lot of it's homes and storefront and, restaurants to support all the people that live here.
Locals still call the waters around the preserve the kitchen.
This piece of land was founded by fishermen in the late 1800s. They'd go out into the kitchen and they'd get dinner because it was really as simple as just walking out. There was seagrass everywhere. There were scallops, there were oysters, clams, and then obviously the abundant fisheries resources.
This land now playing a big role keeping that kitchen stocked for future generations. That story you just watched, we shot back in February before those back-to-back hurricanes really wiped the village of Cortez out. They are a resilient people, and they've been around for more than 100 years. So they say they're going to bounce back. They're not going to abandon the place. The best way you can support them is support local, fresh seafood. Get on a charter, hit the water, go fishing. Why not? It's Florida, and we live in paradise. All right, that'll do it for us here on this ABC Action News Price of Paradise special. Remember, you can find all these stories and more online and on our streaming platform, ABC Action News Plus. I'm Michael Paluska. Have a great rest of your day.